I've been asked if I could speak a little bit louder. Can you hear me in the back? Cool. Up, more? Okay, sorry, I'm going to be shouting. This is going to be a little bit weird. So I've been asked to tell you in 7 minutes how to motivate salespeople. Now, I want to be really clear what motivation is. End of the quarter, I always try to do some fun things for the team, come up with some creative ideas, things like Venn diagrams of things that will hit, some things that I have no diggity will happen, and let me be very clear, I had to go to Urban Dictionary for a lot of this. But this is not motivation. Motivation is really hard. So, anybody have an idea of how to motivate salespeople? Not including compensation? Hands just went down. How do you motivate salespeople? You shouldn't. You shouldn't. It is extraordinarily hard for you to be dragging every single salesperson over the line. It's exhausting, it doesn't scale, and it doesn't work over time. So what is motivation? Motivation is the art of getting them to want to do what you want them to do. So how do you ignite that fire? If you don't have the right people who have the fire inside of them, it's never going to work. But your job is to create the oxygen, is to supply a steady stream of oxygen. So what is oxygen? So there's a couple steps you need to take. The first is you have to hire the right people. If they're not salespeople or they don't have that fire in them, you can't necessarily create it. They have to have it themselves. I always ask people, there's a question I ask in my hiring process, tell me about a deal that you lost. I'm interested in what you won, but I'm more interested in tell me why you lost. Because the really great salespeople will know exactly what they did wrong. They won't blame anybody else. They will know what they did wrong, and they will learn from it, and that fire keeps burning. Because I promise you, they will not make that mistake again. It always happens. Think about it. Ask your best salespeople, tell me about the deal that you lost. The second is training. That is a huge amount of oxygen. You have to constantly be adding more value to your team by training them, by giving them additional skills, by augmenting skills. That's a difficult thing to do, but it's critical. And if you don't have great, really well-trained salespeople, they will go somewhere else. Doesn't matter how much you pay them, they will go somewhere else to get better. The next is enablement. You have to enable them. You have to have the tools for them to be able to do their jobs. You've heard about a bunch of tools today. You need to make sure that everything is easy. If everything is really, really difficult, salespeople, they just want to close deals, right? The more you can enable them, the more you can automate, the more time they can spend with customers, and the more time they can spend delivering value to customers. And ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about delivering value to your customers. The next is creating a great culture. If there's not a little bit of fun, people are spending, let's say, minimum 8 hours a day at work, plus transport time, travel time. If they're not in a really good culture where they feel valued, where they feel important, where they know they're making a difference, and it's a toxic environment, again, it doesn't matter how much you pay them, they're not going to stay. So again, oxygen, culture. The next is, this is really hard, but as sales managers, you have to manage people how they need to be managed. Not every salesperson is exactly the same, and if you have one management style and it's your way or the highway, some of them are going to take the highway. So it's your job. Obviously, you don't need to completely change who you are, but part of igniting that fire inside of them is making your reps feel valued and making them feel heard and making sure that you're motivating them in the right way. My team, if I managed everybody the same, it would be a disaster because there's some that I have to manage in 180 degrees the other way. And you know what? They both did over £1 million last quarter in entirely different management styles. So you need to think about what motivates your team. And of course, compensation. You need to have the right compensation to drive structure. How about on time? So it's really, really easy to demotivate people. You don't lead people by yelling at them. That's not leadership. That's assault. So how do you demotivate them? This is super easy, man. Motivating, creating oxygen is hard. Demotivating, super easy. and super stupid. I mean, this is not what you want to do. The first is blame. I subscribe very much to, I'm responsible for my team, so if something goes wrong, it's on me too. I don't blame them. I blame myself for not providing the right structure, the right training, the right leadership. We'll talk about what went wrong, and it'll never happen again. But if you don't have ownership or blame, again, how motivating is that if they keep getting blamed for everything? Not having any structure or process. Obviously you need to have a framework for people to follow. Sales is a balance of art and science. Too much science and you have a bunch of robots. Too much art and you can't replicate what works. So you need to have a balance of both. And so make sure you have strong sales process, sales structures, and sales plays, so that way everybody knows what to do and can follow that. Encouraging bad behavior, that's really demotivating as a salesperson. If you're going out and somebody keeps poaching from you and it's okay because they're a leader and it's okay they poached another deal but they closed it, so it's okay. We've all worked in really toxic environments where inside, you cheer when somebody closes a deal outside, but internally you're kind of dying because they're horrible. Don't create that environment. Nobody likes it, nobody lasts, and people will stay for a little while and then they'll go and be much happier. So don't encourage bad behavior. Micromanagement, again, some people need to be ridden, but as soon as they've proven they've earned it, I let them go. I let them run, and they bring me in when they need to, and I know what's happening in the deals, but again, micromanagement is not fun for you as a leader either. And also, having the wrong team members is really demotivating, because if you're working really hard as a sales rep, and your manager has to spend so much time with somebody else because they are just not the right people, it's really tough. And so it's demotivating when you know you're doing great work and you're not getting recognized for it. And it's oftentimes, this sounds counterintuitive, sometimes it's kinder to let the wrong team members find somewhere else that lets them thrive. And they'll be happier too. I mean, it's tough to let people go, but they're happier, and ultimately your team is happier as long as you have the right people. I'm not saying the minute somebody does something wrong, get rid of them. Invest, coach, develop, but if they're the wrong team members, again, that takes a little bit of oxygen out of the room from everybody else if somebody's sucking up all the oxygen in the air. So again, for salespeople who have that fire inside of them, I promise you, you will never need to put pressure on them, because they're putting way, way, way more pressure on themselves than you ever will be able to. So thank you.